This video is going to be a film study preview of the Baltimore Ravens' visit to Buffalo to take on the Bills in the AFC Divisional Round matchup Sunday night. The game of the weekend, if you ask me, from a competitive standpoint, interest standpoint, with Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, all the discussion, argument, speculation about who will get the MVP. I think it's pretty obvious that Lamar Jackson's resume is impossible to overcome for the regular season in 2024. I'm going to talk about some of the options that I think Todd Monken has to attack this Bills defense. My first, at least through Thursday, couple of previews will be about the Bills defense. It's a very multiple and versatile offense that Todd Monken has created in 2023 and then 2024. We could go 11 personnel and attack as needed with the run game, with the pass game. Lamar has been incredibly efficient this year, prepared for pretty much every situation. We could do 21 or 22 personnel, essentially bring Ricard on the field with one or two wide receivers. I don't think, based on my documentation, that the Bills have seen a lot of 22 personnel, which is interesting. At least the website that I was able to find, they only had seen 22 iterations of 22 personnel, two running backs, two tight ends, all throughout the year. Feel free to let me know if that's inaccurate information, if you can find a better website than I did. So what that would mean is either Andrews and Likely, or Likely and Kolar, or Andrews and Kolar on the field at the same time with a running back and Pat Ricard, and then seeing how the Bills match it. Basically, the Bills are a base nickel defense, and here in a moment, I will show you a breakdown of Tyron Johnson's snap count in 2024, just to prove kind of how often he's on the field as a nickel defender. And he's spectacular at it, first of all. And then second of all, they trust him. And from a Ravens standpoint, I'm not too sure that we don't want to utilize personnel groups that might get him off the field, because I think he's that good. I think he's that versatile, I should say. Obviously had an impact in our playoff game in 2020 in Buffalo, getting the pick six that pretty much finished off the game at that point. Could we go to the option game? Of course. I mean, the option game has been tremendous for the Ravens in 2024. The threat of Lamar and Derrick Henry going in opposite directions. We've talked about that many times on this channel, and in comment sections, people have forwarded those observations. If Lamar's going to the right and Henry's going to the left, it stresses the horizontal integrity of the defense, and that's one of my principles here that I think applies to the Bills defense as I've studied it so far up through Wednesday morning. Meaning, we've got to create horizontal conflict, stretch them sideways. I don't mean toss plays, stuff like that. I mean things that create horizontal conflict, pull defenders in one way but attack to the other. Essentially, jet dive, stuff like that the Ravens run. Finally, our heavy personnel 23 group that we unveiled against the Steelers, to great effect, mind you. That is an interesting dynamic for me, because we could force Tyron Johnson off the field, get a third inside linebacker on the field for them. I will show you in this video how I believe the Bills will answer or respond to those jumbo 23 personnel groupings. They're not going to have the same response as the Pittsburgh Steelers, who went to a 6-2. So my principles here before we get to the video in terms of attacking this Bills defense, we've got to run some jet sweep concepts. The Rams, the Chiefs, multiple other teams have run jet sweep against them to great success because they're a too high safety structure and they don't roll to force. So what I mean by that is they don't roll to force a play to the inside with a safety or a corner. They like to roll to occupy, basically roll to occupy the zones or the areas they're responsible for in their zone. Jet sweep is there. It's been there all season for many teams. Related to that would be principle number 2, horizontal conflict, which I've already talked about a little bit. Another corollary to that, part 3, would be complementary plays that can be run off the jet motion. I'm not going to cover that in this video, to be honest with you. Parts 4 and 5, which I'll continue to talk about in this video and others, they're a too high safety team that rotates to occupy. They don't rotate to force. And oftentimes, you can catch them in man, and the Kansas City Chiefs did. In fact, Mecole Hardman, I believe, a big-time gain on a jet sweep concept to the right. And finally, what their response will be to heavy personnel groups. Let's get to the film. And after a couple plays show here, I will, as I mentioned before, I will give you a Tyron Johnson snap count breakdown, just so you can see it for yourself. So this is a couple of plays. This is 2 consecutive plays against the Chiefs on the 7th possession. And so you can see there's 12 personnel on the field for the Chiefs, 1 running back, and That's Tyron Johnson right there. They're a base nickel defense, 4-2-5. They get lined up a little late. That's why I had it paused there. It's a run concept. I think Kareem inside linebacker, Tyron Johnson, nickel defender, seventh guy in the box, hybrid safety, corner, occasional use as an inside linebacker from an alignment standpoint. He's obviously not an inside linebacker, but very versatile player, extremely talented, in my opinion. Suffered an injury last week in the first quarter. I think another neck injury. He's had a couple of them. Came back in the second quarter after being cleared. Expect him to play completely and be on the field, depending on the personnel group that we show. So second play here in a row. Very next play, I should say. And notice the Chiefs have gone to 11 personnel. Everybody on the field is the same. Tyron Johnson is spot shadowed. The only difference is the corners are flipped. And the reason I show you this is against 12, against 11, against 21, they're a base nickel defense. That's what they run. Does it mean they're too small? I don't know. I mean, they believe they can stop the run from a too high safety alignment with a nickel defender on the field. And here they are. They've got one more win in the regular season than we did. And they're hosting this game instead of coming to Baltimore for the second time this year. If we hadn't blown a couple of games against teams that we should beat, the Raiders and the Browns, then perhaps we would be hosting this game. They like zone defense, match coverages, combo, quarters, whatever you want to call it, split field stuff. They mix it up, very versatile. This is a hold, by the way. Patrick Mahomes trying to get out of there to the left-hand side. I'm not saying they can't play man. I think they've got one really good man cover corner, and then Tyron Johnson, a good man slot nickel. I don't think the other guys major in man. It doesn't mean they can't do it occasionally and be effective at it. It just means, in my opinion, they're better served as a zone team, especially with their safeties in a too high alignment, or adjusting to your motion post-snap to some variation of cover 3. Let's show Tyron Johnson's snap counts. It's over on the right-hand side. Get rid of that logo. Hopefully you guys can see it okay. So his snap counts, and by the way, he played 41 snaps last week in the wild card game. Only missed, I think he had 98% of the snaps played, so I think he must have missed 2 snaps, maybe 3, whatever. I haven't broken that percent down, but not much. Like I said, got injured mid-late first quarter, came back in the second quarter. My guess is Buffalo must have possessed the ball for a while, so he really didn't miss any defensive snaps. Played the rest of the game. He's going to play. He's not going to be out, number one. Number two, he'll be on the field against 12 personnel. Maybe he'll be on the field against 21. That'll be extremely interesting to see how they match 21 personnel. I don't know about 22 personnel. Like I said, I haven't seen anyone use that against them so far. But in any case, all the way over to the right, cordoned off in blue, is his snap counts for this year. You see he missed 4 games earlier in the season and then played pretty much 100% of the snaps the rest of the way out, except Week 17 against the Jets when they blew him out, and then he didn't play in Week 18 in the rematch against the Patriots. All right, so how can they stop the run? How do they think they're going to stop the run? Now, it doesn't actually occur here. This is the next possession for the Chiefs. It's a big run by Kareem Hunt. Let's let it flow through one time. But what do they believe in? What do they think they can do to stop the run? They got to get the safeties involved, right? This happens to be man, and that influences the fact that it becomes a big game. Tyron Johnson's down here manned up on DeAndre Hopkins in the slot. So you can see his back is turned to the point of attack. So that's a part of this play. This isn't, again, to make declarative statements about everything, but this is an example I was trying to use to show you this is how they believe they'll stop the run. And if you can occupy their safety and not block a defensive end, which is our option game. Now, this is not option play, mind you, because Patrick Mahomes is turning his back to this defensive end. But conceptually, I'm using this play to describe what we could do. Leave a D end unblocked, option concept, have someone to occupy the safety, and as long as you can occupy the nickel defender, you're setting yourself up for use the play side safety and the backside safety to get involved in the run fit, along with the nickel defender. Like I said, the man aspect of this from a coverage standpoint clearly has a factor, but since Hamlin is occupied by the tight end, he still tries to get around him and makes contact or try to make contact, force those guys to deal with a blocker in space, give Derrick Henry a two-way go, and I think we could still generate yards in the run game. I still think they're very good at it, Use the Detroit, very good at stopping the run, even from a too high platform. Look at the Lions game as example one. They came out like a house of fire on the first 3 possessions, and I expect them to do so against us. Am I saying they're going to get 3 stops? No, what I'm saying is I expect them to play their best brand of run defense early in the game, unless Todd Monken comes out with some adaptations, variations, or anomalous plays to exploit them in a way that they haven't seen on film so far. So this is first play of the first possession, in fact, and it's 11 personnel for the Lions. Nickel defense response by the Buffalo Bills. Tyron Johnson is spot shadowed there. Post snap, you have safety spinning down here. So it's not about them staying in a too high look the entire time. They believe, my suspicion, my theory, they believe that they can stay very versatile from a too high safety alignment, that they can stop the run and get into any coverage look they want to post snap. Guess what? That's coordinating things. And so what I mean by this is the run concept is here. The safety is already predetermined to be rolling down. The effect that has on Matt Milano is he doesn't have to fast play this. He can slow play it. I think it's a very well-coordinated defense because they're dropping the safety down here. And watch this DN stab to the inside. So he's not holding the edge. He actually ends up on the inside here. And I think it's all related, guys. That's because they're rolling the safety down. They've already got the nickel here. I think early in the game, and I don't want to use the phrase sell out, but I think early in the game they're going to have down. We could really have some key breakers that get them off of their schedule from a defensive standpoint. Again, Milano can slow play this because of how they're playing it off screen over here. You've got the nickel, Tyron Johnson, and the safety spinning down. You've got this DN who's stabbed to extremely quick in that game. I think that they believe playing too high allows them to maintain versatility, quote, disguise, as long as possible. That's my suspicion. I can't prove it. I don't read Bill's stuff. Don't have time to. Second possession, 2nd and 9. Again, 11 personnel. So Tyron Johnson is here as the nickel defender. And they love to do this with their left side safety. So it's number 24, I believe. I think it's Bishop, but I could be wrong. He's rolled down and then kick him back post-snap to a 2 safety look in what I believe is a quarter half. So 1/4 or quarter, and then half defender. Most people call it cover 6. Squat corner in the flats. I think that's Elam, a guy who, in my opinion, we should try to target. If we think we're getting man. But you can see the way that this coverage works out. Goff identified it really quick. Look, he's already throwing the ball to Patrick. Milano may have expanded a little bit too far to that route that would be covered in the flats. Really attacked, played fast on defense, gave Detroit's run game problems early. Do I expect them to do that with the Ravens? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the Bills believe that they have answers, courses of action to stop the run out of their nickel too high platform. Second possession, and look, these guys, these safeties, this is a different run game, right, for the Lions than it is for the Ravens. The Ravens is more option-based, I formation, heavy personnel sometimes, and the quarterback, Lamar Jackson, clearly plays a big factor in the run game. Jared Goff does not. As an aside, Jared Goff did have 2 scrambles in this game that were really important, and he had a third situation, the first touchdown for the Lions, in fact. He was able to get out of the pocket, convert a 3rd down, and then also get out of the pocket on a 3rd down and find Tim Patrick open for their first score. It's just safety roll down here. Now, there's a safety that you guys have a view of now, but you'll lose him a little bit here since I'm zoomed in. So they're spinning this guy down in a zone blitz. So it's a 5-man rush alignment, 3 under, and then 3 deep. I call that a zone blitz, various names for it, fire zone, whatever you want to call it. In any case, that safety getting there so quick is what ultimately, and downhill early on. There's the safety. He's off screen to you guys bottom right. I think the early down calls are going to be extremely interesting, meaning are they selling out to stop the run like this? Can we get off a play action concept that takes advantage of them? With Zay Flowers' injury concerns, and our supposed lack of depth at wide receiver, maybe Todd Monken wants to avoid those situations altogether. I think it'd be in our best interest to go to some play action early downs, first or second down, even to 2nd and 4, to test their pass defense. I'm not saying that they have a porous pass defense, in my opinion, but I do think we can get them, especially when we think they're playing man. Let's move forward to one of the principles, I think, one of the ways that Todd Monken can attack them, and that's with the jet sweep / horizontal conflict. So it's 11 personnel for the Rams. And you've got the nickel defender, Tyron Johnson, set to the field. They attacked the Bills with this jet sweep concept 3 times in the game with Puka Nacua, and then a jet pitch in the opposite direction, which I will show you here in a moment, that goes for a touchdown. This is a beautiful concept. There's the horizontal conflict that's created. The running back going in one direction, the top side, and then Puka Nacua, who's actually got the football already, to the bottom side. So this would be the 4th defender who's put in extreme conflict here, along with the defensive end. You can do a lot of things as a defense. You could say, hey, if they run jet sweep, we want you to step up field and we want you to tackle a guy. We want you to hit him. We want you to collision him. Well, they'll do a number of things. They'll start snapping the ball later, number 1. Number 2, they'll start running him in motion and then trying to draw you off sides. But that's an answer that you can do. It's a temporary fix, short-sighted if you ask me. This is the guy that's got to be right. He's got to be right on the jet sweep, and he's got to be right on the run play away. There's nothing to make him right. All these guys are working here. So if he's reading the offensive line, his primary key, those guys are taking him away from the point of attack. This jet sweep ends up a little bit like a naked 3-on-2, big gain on a 3rd and short. I think jet sweep has got to be an element of our run game this week from a design standpoint. Look, and it's tough for any defense, okay? The jet sweep into the boundary, whether it's 11 personnel or 12 personnel, because it's away from the nickel. You can see all the space that's created here for Puka Nacua. You've been able to see this the whole time. This just came into your screen. It's a 3-on-2 in that short space. Again, there's the 4th defender. From a standpoint of, counting that safety as a 3rd defender, but that safety is too late. Why? They're in a too high safety alignment. And that, to me, is part of the reason why we've got to use the jet sweep or the jet motion to create horizontal conflict, because they don't roll to force. They roll to occupy. So they roll to occupy space, number 1. Number 2, they don't roll where the nickel defender is generally. So on this motion by Mecole Hardman across, you're not getting a match and then a roll all the time. Occasionally you do. Now it's man-to-man here, so I'm getting away with presenting it as a criticism. It's not a criticism. This is the 5th possession. The Chiefs are in 12 personnel, so I think they understood the coverage. And I think it's just a great play call by the Chiefs. But this is something that multiple teams have used against the Bills' defense. I think there's a lot of reasons why. This particular one happens to be because, you've got man. I think it's Douglas trying to follow him all the way across. They're not switching anything. So this corner's playing him man. Tyron Johnson's playing the tight end man. Tyron Johnson's trying to get over the top. He does, but his man, Travis Kelce, has went underneath, looped to the outside. Really nothing that the Bills can do here if they're not going to exchange this, if they're not going to roll to force or change the coverage. The horizontal conflict is here and here. A version of the Bills' defense, in my opinion, seems to be susceptible to this concept. There's the defenders that are assigned in man to the tight ends. It's the safeties. I think that there's also opportunity to exploit those guys with our talented tight ends in catching the football. So there's the jet motion. I think it's Hardman who's got the ball. And then Hunt going in the opposite direction. You guys lose him a little bit. And then regain him. Huge play to the right-hand side. The Chiefs have run that jet sweep for years. Jet dive for us has been a big factor. Actually, I think it's underutilized. Whether it's Derrick Henry or Justice Hill getting the ball after the jet motion, it's been something that I think Todd Monken could call more of. So back to their game against the Rams. And you've got the jet motion by Cooper Kupp. I don't think that they're going to run it over here to a single receiver side, but they have before. It's been rare. In any case, it's the jet and the pitch off of it. When you get the blocking scheme, I don't really have to even explain it. When you get the blocking scheme from the end zone angle, As an educated Ravens fan, you'll recognize the scheme. It's the same scheme that we use to get to the outside. We've actually ran plays like this before, one against the Cincinnati Bengals in 2023 and one against the Bengals this year. So here's the jet motion going across, and what they're going to do is take the wide receiver, pin down on the defensive end, and pull the tight end and the right tackle out. What have they created? A 3-on-2. There's the 3. Here's the 2 with the third defender late. It's the same guy being the possible fourth defender, and it's over. It's really too easy for Kyron Williams to take this outside. You got mismatches out in space there, basically. You've got corner and nickel defender being blocked by a tight end and a right tackle. Certainly our right tackle is athletic enough to get out there this year. I do think that we have other options to attack them. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. I will focus on some jumbo personnel stuff here in a moment. I put out a video on Tuesday about the Ravens 23 jumbo personnel package and wing eye formation that we used against the Steelers to great effect. Henry had a touchdown out of it. We utilized it 3 or 4 times, maybe 5, on our 13-play drive in the second quarter where we ran the ball 13 consecutive plays and basically punished the Steelers defense to take a 14-0 lead. I expect the Bills to try to have an answer for that. I'll try to show you what they've done so far against jumbo personnel groups. When I said at the lead into the video that I think Todd Monken has a lot of options, hopefully I'm giving you some of those here. From a pass game perspective, that'll be a separate video. This one's gone on a little bit longer than I anticipated. I wanted to break this up into shorter segments because I felt like if I presented all 5 of the principles that this one could have been a 45-minute video. So I'd like to get you out of here in the next 5 to 7 minutes or so. Let's see how they answer a jumbo personnel group. This is first drive for the Lions. This is the second play. I showed you the first play earlier where they influenced Goff to throw an incomplete pass, basically a throwaway, out into the right flat. So here is Dan Skipper, the third tight end or 6th offensive lineman, whatever you want to call him, on a 2nd and 9. And how have the Bills answered? Basically a 4-3 look that ends up looking like a 4-5. I don't think they're going to sub an extra D lineman, a D tackle on the field. From a positional standpoint, if I understand all this correctly, I know that Milano and 43 are inside linebackers. I think he's a hybrid inside linebacker, outside linebacker. So what I mean is sometimes they'll walk him up and be a, quote, edge defender against particular personnel groupings. And then 24 is a safety. Interesting here to me, every time that we've seen this, we've got 24 lined up in between 2 inside linebackers. When I say 4-5 look, that's what I mean. Those 5 defenders there, D end, D tackle. There's a D tackle's helmet there that hopefully you can see, and a D end. That's what I mean when I say 4-5. I don't mean 4-5 from a personnel standpoint with 4 D linemen and 5 linebackers, because clearly 24 and 5 those 2 are a safety and a corner. Tyron Johnson is another guy that they could put there. For whatever reason, they take him off the field. There's an auto blitz here for 43 against jumbo groups in this game against the Lions. That's not a read by him. Why is he doing that? I think he's just trying to occupy a blocker such that it frees up Milano. So this is an auto blitz. Milano's reading it. You can see there's no one that goes to get him. Fits this perfectly. Nowhere for Montgomery to go. They did a great job early in the game stopping the run. Again, it's a 4-3 personnel look that ends up looking like a 4-5 once they've lined up. Now, there's a little adaptation here, 42, that I called a hybrid inside linebacker, outside linebacker. You can see he's walked up on the line, creating really an underfront that turns into a 5-3 look. The underfront, slid 50, whatever people want to call it, oftentimes takes the weak side safety and rolls him up to the weak side. That's exactly what's been created here, lined up, meaning the coordinator in the headset with the green dot, the captain, is telling him what the personnel group needs to be, and then on the sideline, someone or multiple people are hollering for the package, whatever that package is called. There's Dan Skipper, the third tight end / 6th offensive lineman. There's Brock Wright, a tight end. Off screen for you guys out here is Sam Laporta, who's the third tight end. So it's 13 personnel. And the hybrid inside linebacker Outside linebacker 42 is up on the line. It's a down or a base scheme. So the line's just blocking everybody down, and then we're off and running. I don't mean that it's going to happen every time, certainly, but the point is Todd Monken will have looked at their responses to these jumbo sets we're already good at. Last play that I'll show you, actually, I guess two. Just look at the difference here between how they match jumbo 13, the last two plays I showed you, versus 12 personnel. So this is 12 personnel. You got Laporta and Brock Wright to the bottom side of the screen, the same two tight ends that were on the field for the last two plays. But now, since Dan Skipper's not on the field, it's only 12 personnel, one running back and two tight ends. They've responded with their nickel base. They're a base nickel defense. It ends up looking like a 4-3 conceptually. Again, they've taken 24 of the safety, walked him up into the box. So even though they're a base nickel defense, it doesn't mean they won't show you a 4-3 look, a 5-3 look, like you saw in the last play, whatever you want to call it. They feel like it affords them versatility, number one. Number two, because of the coverage skills of Tyron Johnson, they believe in him, as well they should. He's made a lot of plays for them over the years. They're comfortable utilizing one of the other safeties to roll up and create that 4-3 look, that 5-3 look, a 4-3 or a 5-2. They're going to play what they believe in because it's served them well, especially late here in the season. Penny's still really late getting out of his stance here, and that means he can't get to the backside inside linebacker, who, of course, influences Jahmyr Gibbs on this zone scheme play. You can see everything is stacked up. The equalizer for the Ravens, I think, number one. And look, they played really well against the run early. They played great defense early. They still give up 42 points. Jared Goff and those guys had to work really hard for it, though. They were challenged, and they had to execute in some disadvantageous situations. Here's one last play out of a jumbo personnel group, just so you can confirm the look that I'm talking about. Watch 24 flip sides with the third tight end, the jumbo offensive lineman. There's 24, and he'll get set up in the exact same alignment that I showed you earlier, a 4-5 look. He happens to be outside of 42 this time, and also you have the same exact auto blitz from number 43, one of their positional inside linebackers, meaning on the snap, he's blitzing, he's coming downhill, he's not reading anything. I think he's blitzing to the side where the jumbo tight end, in this case, skipped all of it. You can see 24 switching sides. Milano ends up as the weak side inside linebacker. This is just an underfront with a 5, a 3, a 1, or a shade, a 5 here. The only difference is there's no 9 technique defensive end here. Remember on the last play, they walked up the edge defense. They all walked up 43, and he became an outside linebacker. So they're versatile. They're smart. They're able to adjust. They believe in what they do. My next film study preview will have more film from the Ravens-Bills matchup in Week 4 of the regular season, as well as some stuff from their first game against the Patriots, which I believe was in New England. I could be wrong. In any case, they won that one, and the rematch in Week 18 when they rested a significant amount of their starters. I appreciate you guys' time. If you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number one. Number two, this one, I have to admit, this one went on about 8 to 10 minutes longer than I thought it would by design, because there's so much material to present. I may be trying to reach too far. My reach may exceed my grasp. If you feel like that's an accurate summary, then let me know in the comment section. But if you did enjoy this video and you appreciate the things I tried to point out about the Bills defense, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.